Hello everyone, and thank you for tuning into my YouTube video on how I draw Belle. Now this one will be a little different from my other videos, as I hope to provide some helpful tips that you can take away and apply them to your own drawings. Before we get started, please take a few seconds to hit that like button down there, and subscribe when you see that little red icon appear on your screen. As always, thank you for the support. Now that we're done with all the pleasantries, let's begin. First thing we'll need is a pencil. I like to use a 3H lead to lay down the basic shapes of my drawing before I get heavy into the details, like this one. Once I'm happy with the overall look of my drawing, I use a darker lead pencil to add definition. Now this one uses an HB lead. This is where you'll start to see your drawing come to life. Next, you'll want to lay down some ink. I typically use artist pens with water-based permanent ink, like these. For the finer details, I use a 0.5 tip. Now for the thicker lines, I use the one with a 1.0 tip. And lastly, you want to add color to your drawing. I use art markers, but you can also use color pencils for this project. Now I like to use 2 shades of a basic color. This helps add depth and dimension to the drawing. Now these are called Letraset ProMarkers, and I also use Copic markers. These are available at your local art supply store and some local bookstores. Oh, and let's not forget our trusty eraser. Mistakes do happen, and it's all part of the fun of drawing. Okay, now the first thing we want to do is lay down some basic shapes. For the head, I like to draw a circle. Well, not really a circle, more of an egg shape. Same thing goes for the body. As you can see, nothing definite. Now I'm going to put a center line here, and I'm going to put a cross line here on the head. This basically shows the head tilt. Now I'm just drawing the collar, or her neckline. And now I'm placing where I think her eye should go relative to the head. Now the nose is roughly halfway between the eyes and the chin, and her mouth is going to be halfway between the nose and the chin. Now she's smiling, so it's not exactly halfway. As you can see here, I'm starting to draw more defined lines, but nothing final. Now this allows me to make adjustments as needed without having to erase large portions of the drawing. Now it's at this stage where mistakes are okay, since we're using a light shade of pencil lead, which won't show in our finished drawing. Pay close attention to the eyes, especially the placement of the pupils, or you'll end up with a character that's cross-eyed, or what I like to call crazy-eyed, even if the rest of the eye is properly aligned. Well, unless that's what you're going for. The mouth, more specifically the lips, can be a tricky part to draw. I sometimes shade in the lips just to make sure I have the proper shape. I apply the same techniques in drawing the rest of the body. Now I drew in some thick lines earlier to help me figure out the right shapes. Now it's time to take our eraser and remove those unwanted lines before we go over the piece with a darker pencil. As I mentioned earlier, I use an HB lead to further define the pencil lines before we lock in the drawing with ink. There's still room for error, but it might still show in our finished piece since we're using a darker lead. Once we're happy with the drawing, it's time for ink. This is probably the easiest, yet most stressful part of the process. Easy in the sense that we are basically tracing, since we did all the heavy rendering while penciling. Now it's stressful because a mistake here can mean having to do the drawing all over again. I go over the whole drawing using a 0.5 tip marker. Now once I'm done, I erase all excess pencil marks to get a good idea of what needs further inking. I use a 1.0 tip marker to create smoother, thicker lines, especially around the outside edges. The thicker pen is also handy in correcting small inking mistakes, which tend to happen all the time. Now on to color. As you can see here, I like to trace the edges, creating a border before completely coloring it in. This prevents the color from bleeding into other parts of the drawing. Earlier, I told you I like using two shades of the same color. Now coloring certain parts of your drawing a shade darker creates depth, or a three-dimensional effect, which can really bring your drawing to life. Just a few more little touches of color here and there, and we can consider this drawing done. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it somewhat useful. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave me a comment below. For more videos like this one, sign up and be a subscriber. And thanks everyone.